Welcome to the deep dive. Our mission here, pretty simple, really. We take a stack of sources, articles, notes, whatever comes our way, and we pull out the absolute must know bits, the insights. Think of it as your express lane. Yeah, your way to get well informed fast. We'll throw in some surprising facts, maybe a little humor, keep you hooked. Today, we're diving into something really interesting. Our source material is basically a snapshot of right now. It's a list of top 10 worldwide headlines. These are from roughly the last 10 hours as of August 5th, 2025, pulled together by ChatGPT. It's like getting a peek at the world's pulse. The challenge, and honestly, this is the fun part, is seeing what connections we can find, what we can uncover just by looking closely at what's happening right now all over the globe. Okay, let's unpack this.
It is remarkable, isn't it? When you look at these headlines, extreme weather here, market moves there, uh, geopolitical stuff happening, they seem separate at first glance. But dig a little deeper, and you see they're really, really interconnected. Our goal here is to piece together this rapid-fire news. We want to show you the bigger dynamics playing out, help you understand not just what's going on, but, why it actually matters globally, and maybe how it touches your world, too.
Absolutely. So let's jump right in. Headline number one, it paints, a pretty alarming picture in Hong Kong. The city is reeling, it says, from the heaviest August rains since, wait for it, 1884.
1884.
Yeah, over 350 millimeters of rain flooding the city. It shut down schools, hospitals, courts.
Major disruption.
Huge. And this detail really caught my eye. Apparently, Disneyland stayed open through all the chaos. What do you make of that? Is that resilience or?
That's a fascinating detail. What it really brings into focus, I think, isn't just the immediate chaos, right? It's how a super modern, dense city like Hong Kong, even with all its infrastructure, can still get absolutely hammered by extreme weather.
Right.
And Disneyland staying open, well, maybe it's about trying to keep some normalcy, or maybe it's the economic pressure.
Mhm.
But it definitely makes you think about urban planning, especially with climate change ramping up. Are cities, even the most advanced ones, really ready for this scale of event? It seems like maybe not fully.
A sobering thought. So while Hong Kong deals with actual floods, the financial world is seeing a different kind of surge. Let's pivot there. We've got headlines about Asia shares rallying and the dollar and U.S. stocks bouncing back. And the main driver seems to be hopes of a Fed rate cut.
Ah, yes. The classic market reaction.
Exactly. Specifically, weak U.S. jobs data came out, and that pushed the odds of the Fed cutting rates to like nearly 94%.
94%. That's high.
It is. And that's boosting Asian stocks, strengthening the yen,
Yeah.
even though there's still those background tensions, tariffs, other labor stats.
Right.
So is this just that bad news is good news scenario we see sometimes? What's the deeper market signal here?
It absolutely is that bad news is good news dynamic. The markets see weak jobs numbers, and they don't just think, oh, economy's slowing. They think, aha, inflation must be less of a worry now, which gives the Fed the green light, basically, to stop hiking rates and maybe even start cutting them to stimulate growth.
Okay.
So that near 94% odds figure, that's the market anticipating very strongly that the Fed's going to pivot. It really shows how globally linked everything is. One piece of U.S. data ripples out everywhere.
Fascinating. Okay, from central bank signals to the energy sector, the next headline says oil is steadying. Apparently, the stability is because OPEC Plus is hiking output, which is easing fears about Russian supply disruptions.
Right. OPEC plus OPEC base. That's the group, including OPEC countries and others like Russia.
And the number mentioned is a planned 2.5 million barrels per day increase. That seems to be calming prices, even with, ongoing demand worries and general geopolitical nervousness. But I wonder, while hiking output stabilizes things now, isn't OPEC Plus just sort of reacting? Are they really tackling the bigger long-term energy questions?
That's a really sharp point.
Mm-hmm.
What we see in energy markets is this constant, delicate balancing act. OPEC Plus can react to immediate supply issues, like those fears around Russian oil. And their moves do help stabilize prices in the short term. That's their main goal, often, price stability.
Right.
But it's always a juggle between actual barrels, market perception, global demand forecasts, and, yeah, those ever-present geopolitical events. So often, it is more about reacting to the latest crisis than driving a long-term strategic shift in energy.
That balancing act definitely feels fragile. And speaking of geopolitics disrupting things, we have this headline, Trump vowing higher tariffs on India, the reason cited. India's imports of Russian oil.
Oh.
So the report frames this as U.S. trade tensions deepening, with India possibly facing these punitive duties. What's the play here? It seems complicated, with energy and alliances all mixed up.
It gets incredibly complex when trade disputes intersect with energy security and geopolitical alignments like this. The reported rationale, as you said, is India's ongoing Russian oil purchases, which is seen by some in the U.S. as undermining sanctions. Now, we're just relaying the content from the sources here.
Understood.
But if such tariffs were imposed, the potential ripple effects are huge. Think about India's energy costs, access to U.S. markets, but also wider global supply chains, other trade relationships. It really highlights the tough spot countries are in, trying to balance their economic needs, like energy, with international political pressures.
Yeah, tough balancing act indeed. But then, almost paradoxically, look at this next headline. Chinese firms set for record U.S. IPO listings.
Interesting contrast.
Right. Despite all the friction we just talked about, political tension, trade disputes, Chinese companies are apparently lining up to list on U.S. stock exchanges at an unprecedented rate. What does that tell us?
It's a fascinating paradox, isn't it? It suggests that despite the political noise, the sheer gravity of market opportunity and access to capital can sometimes pull harder. These Chinese companies are looking to U.S. markets not just for money, but for the kind of credibility and liquidity you get from a major listing, like on the NYSE or NASDAQ.
So money talks, basically.
In many ways, yes. It seems these economic drivers, the pursuit of capital and market access, can often operate on a different track, sometimes even overriding the political tensions, or at least coexisting awkwardly alongside them. It's hard for governments to completely block that flow without potentially hurting their own markets, too.
Okay, let's shift from IPOs to a specific deal. Canada's First Quantum inks a $1 billion gold streaming deal. So this mining company, First Quantum, is selling its future gold production to another company, Royal Gold. And the report says the market sees this as a signal of safe haven shifts.
Right, a streaming deal.
Can you unpack that a bit? What's the strategic angle here beyond the big number?
Sure. So in a streaming deal like this, First Quantum gets cash up front, that $1 billion, which is likely very useful for them, maybe for funding operations or paying down debt. In return, Royal Gold gets the right to buy a certain amount of their future gold output at a predetermined, usually lower price. First Quantum basically locks in some revenue, but gives up potential upside if gold prices soar.
Okay, so it reduces their risk.
Exactly. It offloads price risk onto Royal Gold. But the signal it sends to the broader market, as the headline notes, is often interpreted as caution. When big money flows into deals centered on gold, which is traditionally seen as a safe haven asset, it can suggest investors are getting nervous about the general economy or other markets and are looking for stability.
Got it. A sign of caution. Now, unfortunately, we turn to some quite somber news. Russia attacks the Ukrainian town of Lozova. The reports say 2 children were wounded, and it's described as the largest airstrike on that town since the war began.
Tragic.
It really raises concerns about the conflict intensifying again. This just brings the human cost right back into focus, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. An incident like this, impacting civilians, children. It's a stark reminder of the ongoing human tragedy and the devastating reality on the ground. When attacks escalate in civilian areas, it underscores the terrible cost of the conflict. Again, we're reporting this impartially, based on the information in the sources, to convey the gravity of the event.
Right. Connecting back now to climate impacts, another headline. Japan hitting new record high temperatures. And the direct consequence highlighted is that it's threatening their rice crops. Farmers are apparently warning about potential declines in the harvest.
Yeah, extreme heat is becoming a major issue for agriculture globally.
This isn't just a bad summer heat wave, then, is it? This sounds more serious.
It's far more significant when you think about global food security. Rice is a staple food for billions. If a major producer like Japan sees significant harvest declines due to climate impacts like extreme heat, that doesn't just affect Japan. It can ripple through global food markets.
Affecting prices and availability elsewhere.
Potentially, yes. It really shows how vulnerable our essential food systems are to climate change. It's not just about abstract temperature records, it's about the food on our plates.
Okay, on a different note, but still a global challenge. UN plastic pollution talks are launching in Geneva. Looks like delegates from 179 countries are trying to negotiate a binding global treaty on plastics.
A huge undertaking.
Driven, it says, by growing concerns about health risks from microplastics. How big a deal is this effort, and why is it so tough to get agreement?
It's a hugely significant effort because the scale of plastic pollution is, frankly, staggering. And the science around microplastics, finding them in our water, our food, even the air we breathe, is increasingly worrying.
Right.
But negotiating a binding treaty with 179 countries, That's incredibly complex. You have massive economic interests involved, different levels of development, disputes over who pays, who cuts back. Balancing environmental protection with economic realities across so many nations is a monumental diplomatic challenge.
But it's vital.
Absolutely. Okay, finally, let's end on a slightly more cosmic note. Astronomers are tracking a 170-foot asteroid passing Earth safely tonight.
Ah, OT7. Yes.
NASA confirms it's no threat, thankfully. But the report uses it as a hook to talk about planetary defense efforts and future risk preparedness. What's the takeaway here? Just cool space stuff or something deeper? Well, it is cool space stuff, but it's more than that. What's really amazing is our ability to do this to track these objects. Scientists are constantly scanning the skies, calculating orbits with incredible accuracy. OT7 is passing safely, but the system is there because some asteroids could pose a threat down the line.
So this is about being ready.
Exactly. It's about future risk preparedness.
Yeah.
It's about developing the technology, the knowledge, the international cooperation needed before we find one on a collision course. It's actually a pretty powerful example of human ingenuity and foresight, planning for potential long-term, low-probability, but high-impact risks, thinking beyond the immediate crises.
What a tour. From Hong Kong's floods and Japan's heat impacting rice, through market jitters, energy politics, trade spats, even gold deals, and then out to Russia-Ukraine conflict concerns, plastic talks, and asteroids. It really shows how taking this kind of deep dive connects seemingly random dots, doesn't it?
It really does. You see the interplay. Climate impacting cities and food, economics reacting to data and geopolitics influencing energy and trade. It's all tangled together.
It's kind of wild how markets can cheer bad economic news while the planet deals with record heat and people face conflict.
Absolutely. This snapshot, these 10 headlines, they really tell a story about the currents flowing beneath the surface, shaping our world right now. Understanding these connections, even from just a quick overview like this, it helps you, the listener, start to grasp the complex forces at play, and maybe get a better sense of what might be coming next and how we navigate it all.
Well said. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive today. Keep exploring, keep asking questions, and stay informed. There's always more to uncover.